The Boston Bruins have made more signings. They have signed John Beecher, Michael DiPietro, Henri Jokiharju, who was bound to be a UFA, which is great that they locked him in. But I think the signing of Michael DiPietro spells the ending of Joonas Korpisalo as a Boston Bruin. I'm going to talk about all of this in the latest episode of Bruins Diehards. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you, and let's get into it. Maybe you're getting sick of seeing me today, but I thought I was done. And literally right after I posted my video and I was walking out the door, the Boston Bruins announced the signing of unrestricted free agent Henri Jokiharju, John Beecher, and Michael DiPietro. I think the DiPietro thing I'll get into a little bit more because I think there's a lot more to that. But it's interesting because we already learned that Lauko wasn't coming back, and now we see that's because John Beecher has been signed. So let's get into this one. The Boston Bruins announced today they've agreed to terms with defenseman Henri Jokiharju on a 3-year contract through the 2027-28 season with an annual cap hit of $3 million. Not that much. He's going to solidify your right side, so now you're going to have McAvoy, Yukihiro, or Peak or Yukihiro. That's going to be your right side. The team has also agreed to terms with forward John Beecher on a 1-year deal through 25-26 with a cap hit of $900,000. I think Beecher offers more versatility than Lauko does. Lauko can only play the wing. And he gets injured a lot. Beecher can be rotated from wing or center. He's very good on the draws, and he's good on the PK. So I think the Boston Bruins looked that he just adds more value, and I think that's why they made the choice they made, because you just can't have that many bottom six guys. The team also agreed to terms with goaltender Michael DiPietro on a 2-year NHL contract through 2026-27 with an annual cap hit of $812,500. Interesting part about this, it's not a two-way deal. It's a one-way deal. That means the Boston Bruins have 3 goaltenders. One of them is going to have to clear waivers after training camp if they don't keep them. And I just look at that as that's the different situation. I'll get into Yukihiro, who is only 25, but let's just get through the Beecher and DiPietro thing, and then I'm going to end it off with DiPietro, and then I'm also going to talk about what I think is going to happen for training camp and tomorrow. And there's a lot of things about to happen with the Boston Bruins in a short period of time here, because every time I do one of these videos, something happens. So Yukihiro, 25, appeared in 60 games with Boston Buffalo during the 24-25 season, recording 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points. The 6-foot, 200-pound defenseman ranked second among Bruins skaters in average ice time, logging 21 minutes and 22 seconds per 18 appearances with the Boston Bruins. He skated in 407 career NHL games with Buffalo, Boston, and Chicago, totaling 19 goals and 78 assists for 97 points. He's not going to be a point getter. He is a shutdown defenseman that the Bruins hope has a decent transition game of moving the puck up the ice. They're not asking for him to having a booming shot from the point. I think that's your Zadorov, your Lindholm, your McAvoy. They're not asking, or Mason Lowry for that matter. They're not asking those guys. But you're going to have Yukihiro or Peak play on the side with Mason Lowry, who's going to be on the left, which will help shelter him from the mistakes that Mason Lowry obviously always makes. He's gifted offensively, but defensively he has a ton of work. So having a guy like Peak or Yukihiro to help him with that, it can go a long way. It also makes me think the Boston Bruins aren't going to be going after Aaron Ekblad or any big right side free agent tomorrow on free agent day. I just don't see it happening. I think this is our defense going into next year. Beecher, 24, appeared in 78 games with Boston during the 24-25 season, recording 3 goals and 8 assists for 11 points. We know Beecher doesn't get a lot of points. And we also know the Boston Bruins reached when they drafted him in the first round. The 6'3", 220-pound forward skated in 130 career NHL games, all with the Bruins totaling 10 goals, 11 assists for 21 points. We're not expecting him to be the guy that's just going to break out next season and get goals. I don't see it. To be totally honest, I think a 1-year deal was just a Band-Aid. The Boston Bruins would move him. He would probably be a guy that they'd move at the deadline if they don't see anything happening with the Boston Bruins, if they haven't made the playoffs. If they're a wild card team, they keep him because, again, great defensively. He will help out a team on the fourth line. It's just the Boston Bruins have better players than Johnny Beecher, and scary enough, Beecher is better than Lauko, based on the versatility I mentioned before. Dpietro, 25, appeared in 40 games with Providence during the 24-25 season, posting an overall record of 26-8-5. He beat out Brandon Bussey for the starting job that we all thought Bussey was going to get last year, and if you remember, we all thought Bussey was going to be the backup in Boston. He had a 2.5 goals against average, a .927 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. Among AHL goaltenders, he ranks second in wins and save percentage and third in goals against average. Dpietro was selected to represent Providence at the 2025 AHL All-Star Game. Dpietro is the reason I think Joonas Korpisalo is going to get traded. You have Calgary, San Jose, and the Philadelphia Flyers all looking for goaltenders. I think the Boston Bruins are actively shopping Joonas Korpisalo. And again, it's nothing against Joonas Korpisalo, but he, believe it or not, to me, was the worst of the two goalies that we had last year. I know Swayman didn't play well, but I look at Swayman and say he's played better in the past and that he can play better. You can't say that about Joonas Korpisalo. I know so many people are in the comments are like, he's this. He's not. He was literally the worst goalie in the NHL 2 years ago. He would have been the worst goalie in the NHL last year if it wasn't for Jeremy Swayman getting more starts. I truly don't understand this fascination with, yes, it's easy to dunk on Swayman because he was that bad, but Korpisalo was that bad too. And he has less of a big contract. He's easier to move, and it just makes perfect sense. It's unfortunate. I know a lot of people like him, and I think they like him because any backup in Boston gets praise. I remember when Tuukka Rask used to be the starter, and it was just like whoever was the backup they were great, and Tuukka Rask sucked, even though Tuukka Rask will go down as one of the best Boston Bruins goaltenders of all time. But that's for another video. I said this when the Boston Bruins acquired Korpisalo the previous year from Ottawa. I didn't understand the trade. We all knew that Jacob Chychrun could have been brought over to Boston, and instead, Boston wanted a goaltender. And I think when Sweeney is usually good at trades, this was a bad one. Sweeney has been phenomenal as a GM of the Boston Bruins since the trade deadline. He has made so many correct decisions, I feel, personally. That is just my opinion. They did great at the draft. They've made some phenomenal trades to bring in some great assets, bring in some great draft picks. They've done a good job of trying to retool on the fly. I do look at the roster and think there's a lot of holes to be made, but I think goaltending, they're going to make a move. And they're not going to be able to get anything for Joonas Korpisalo. If you're going to be trading him, it's probably going to be a 4th or a 5th round draft pick. And it's going to be a team that's going to either go to camp and see what they've got, like the Flyers, the LA Kings, which he's already been on, or the Calgary Flames, and go, oh my God, we need a goaltender. Maybe we'll take a chance on Joonas Korpisalo. Maybe the underlying stats say differently than the stats that we see blasting us in the face. Or the Boston Bruins try and throw him on waiver. They try Korpisalo versus Dpietro and make a decision. Now, I think the decision is very easy. It's Korpisalo that you put on waivers because you hope someone takes him because he's got that larger contract, because if you put Dpietro on waivers, he's going to get snatched up. Korpisalo can go play in the minors. It is what it is, but I think Dpietro and Swayman will be the goaltenders for the Boston Bruins next year. Now, I want to talk about how tomorrow is the free agent day, and looking at the Boston Bruins roster right now, your top line, because he's signed, is Morgan Geekie, Elias Lindholm, and David Pastrnak. Locked in. Your second line, Casey Middlestat, Fabian Lysell, and Pavel Zacha. That's what it's saying on Daily Faceoff. They've got Husadinov there. I think it can be whatever. I think your third line is definitely going to be Fraser Minten down the middle. Now, they've got Matthew Poitras on the wing, because when James Higgins was drafted, the first thing that popped into my head is Matthew Poitras expendable now? I think they might shop Poitras, or he could be that guy on that right side. Their right side is abysmal right now. I look at Daily Faceoff, and I think they're just throwing darts at a board to put guys on that right side. They've got Fabian Lysell there. They've got Poitras there. They've got Kostelek there. The Boston Bruins, it's no secret. It's all over the internet. They're heavily in on Brock Besser. It's not saying that they're going to get him. It also says that Utah is heavily in on him. Edmonton Oilers are in on him. A lot of teams are in on Brock Besser. He's the number one guy to go get right now. Brad Marchand looks to be signing in Florida, but they say if he doesn't, Boston, Toronto, and Utah are the landing spots for him. We'll see what happens. I'm not in the camp of wanting Marchand back. I look what the Bruins have done and how they changed this roster. I think Brad Marchand did a phenomenal job in Florida. I think that's the type of team he needs to be on. He needs to be on a cup contender. The Boston Bruins are not a cup contender. Brad Marchand, the cap that it would cost to have him on the roster, I don't think it helps you. The Boston Bruins, even with Marchand in the lineup, they are a fringe playoff team. You look at the Atlantic, you've got Florida, Tampa, Toronto, Montreal, and the Boston Bruins. Tampa and Florida, they're in a league of their own. Toronto, I think, will take a step back, missing Marner, but they're still going to make the playoffs. And then you've got Boston and Montreal fighting for that wild card spot. Montreal just got Noah Dobson. They're going to be a very good team next year. They were a good team last year. But Boston, I think, wasn't the team that we saw, and I think they will be better. I just don't know how much better. It might not be next year. It might be the following year when we possibly get Higgins, but we'll see, because, again, Higgins looked great at development camp today, but that's development camp against a bunch of kids his own age. I look at the future for the Boston Bruins, and finally I'm like, oh my God, it's actually good. I look at all those kids they've got, and they've finally got prospects. People are talking about the Boston Bruins and their prospects for the first time in years. So I'm truly wondering what they're going to be doing. Sweeney said that he was going to be possibly looking at trades. I don't think they're looking to sign a lot of guys with only $12.7 million in cap. If they move out Korpisalo, that you get an extra $3 million right there. So that's great. So that'll add that back up. So now you're at $15.7 million. So maybe that is the plan. He's definitely going to get moved. I think there's going to be a lot more guys. I think possibly Casey Middlestat, maybe Matthew Poitras, and Georgi Merkulov hasn't even got a qualifying offer yet. The Bruins don't qualify him by the end of the day. He's a UFA. He's gone forever, which makes no sense to me, and I think that will be a Sweeney mistake because that's bad asset management. But we'll see. I want to hear from you, though. Drop your things in the comments. Let me know what you think of the signings they made today. Me thinking personally that Korpisalo is going to get moved, what players they might go after in free agency, and what trades might happen, because the next 48 hours, this roster is going to look a lot different. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.